So number 10 is Ubayy ibn Ka'b al-Khazraji, radwanullahi ta'ala alayh. Ubayy ibn Ka'b, what I'm going to be doing with this list is after I introduce the name, I'm going to give you some of the titles and some of the personal characteristics that I admired in this person. So Ubayy ibn Ka'b was called Sayyid al-Qurra, the chief or the master of the reciters, because he was one of the famous Sahaba of Rasulullah who was engaged in not only memorizing the Quran but writing it down. And I've seen some reports that say he had memorized the Quran to the point where he could recite the whole thing in 7 nights. So he had the whole entire Quran memorized. And at that time, when not many people could read and write, someone memorizing the Quran was considered a very, very big deal, because you were essentially one of the wasa'il that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was using to preserve his word. So Ubayy ibn Ka'b radwanullahi ta'ala alayh is also famous because he narrates some ahadith. There's a lot of hadith attributed to him. His nickname was Abu al-Mundhir. That was his kunya. And the other interesting fact about Ubayy is within the Imami school, we have narrations from Imam al-Sadiq salamullahi alayh. When he is asked about the qira'ah of the Quran, he says, our qira'ah is the qira'ah of Ubayy. As in, at that time, there were many different qira'ahs. There was the qira'ah of Ibn Mas'ud. There was the qira'ah of Zayd ibn Thabit. Imam al-Sadiq salamullahi alayhi confirmed, he said, the qira'ah of the school of the Ahlul Bayt is the qira'ah of Ubayy ibn Ka'b radwanullahi ta'ala alayhi. Ubayy ibn Ka'b was an Ansari. He was not from Mecca. And he was one of the people who gave bay'ah to Rasulullah at the bay'ahs of Aqaba. So he was one of the first Ansar to come forth and accept Islam and to invite Rasulullah to the city. And so when Rasulullah came to Medina, he made Ubayy ibn Ka'b radwanullahi ta'ala alayh, he made him one of his secretaries, and he made him one of the scribes of the Quran. And so Ubayy was one of the faction of Imam Ali salamullahi alayh. He did not give bay'ah to the first Khalifa, though he did collaborate with the government of the second Khalifa. And according to the Sunni accounts, he was commissioned by Umar to lead the Taraweeh prayer. These accounts are not acceptable by the Shia standard. The other interesting thing is, when it comes to the qira'ah of Ubayy, the Imams, when they were asked about Ubayy ibn Ka'b, they would mention it's like Ibn Mas'ud radwanullahi ta'ala alayhi, he had a few issues. So for example, Ibn Mas'ud, one of his issues is that whenever he used to recite the Quran, whenever he used to do qanut, he used to mention a dua, I believe it's mentioned in Surah Al-Jinn that a group of jinn used to say, Allah Ta'ala Jaddu Rabbina. So this phrase is basically unacceptable within Islam. It's not considered something respectful to say about Allah. Allah Jaddu Rabbina, which was like a way of the jinn used to glorify Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but it was not something that Allah approved of. So it was like when Allah was quoting them in Surah Al-Jinn, this is not something that he was giving approval of. He was just saying this is something the jinn used to do before they accepted Islam. So Ibn Mas'ud used to recite this. And so people used to think it was a good thing. They would repeat it in their qunut as well. Ubayy ibn Ka'b did not make such a mistake. And I remember there are narrations regarding Ubayy's recitation, such as the fact that Rasulullah would tell him, he says, Ubayy, Allah has told me to recite the following verse to you. And then Rasulullah would recite the verse. And so Ubayy would ask him, he says, Ya Rasulullah, did Allah mention me by name? Did he just say, just recite the ayah to your scribes, or did he mention me by name? He said, no, he mentioned you by name. So Ubayy ibn Ka'b, Sayyid al-Qurra, one of the masters of the Quran among the first generation. And his qira'ah later when... it's interesting because the accounts differ on when Ubayy ibn Ka'b radwanullahi ta'ala alayhi, when he passed away. Some accounts say that he passed away during the reign of Umar ibn al-Khattab. Others say that he passed away during the reign of Uthman. I think Uthman is more accurate. Because we have a lot of reports that say his qira'ah, he was on the council that Uthman chose to compile the Quran into a single qira'ah.